T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Trap Talk Reptile Network, the coolest reptile network in the world, episode 614. All in the Treat Tuesday. Eminem, Chondros, just met Mike, fresh off of Tinley this weekend, and it was a good time. But man, you guys are in for a treat tonight. Shout out to my fellow reptile, chondro lovers, everyone out there. This is your first time tapping in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and select all. You'll be reminded every single podcast drops on this network. And of course, we have the one and only Bill Stiegel, Phoenix Reptiles, my big bro, and Marshall.
Your other big bro.
I pain in the ass.
What's up?
What's up, man? You tell
Welcome
me.
back, Marshall. Welcome back.
What's up?
Yeah.
Dude?
How are y'all?
How are you first? Let's make sure you're adjusted and you're settled, man. You look
I'm
like
not. I'm not. I'm in a hotel room, so I'm trying to get my shit straightened out.
CD hotel room podcast from Marshall.
Yeah.
Look
Look
at
at him
There
go.
we go.
This is epic. Look at this
There
guy.
he is.
I'm getting settled, guys. No worries. All right, there he is, Marshall Mendez. What's up, buddy? Welcome back, Marshall.
Thank you.
He's
Good to
got
be
his-
back.
He's got his Miller Lite. He's got porn going in the background.
Actually, I'm stooping tonight. I got Ultra. They didn't have any at the package store.
Ooh, Ultra.
How many days you gone for, Marshall?
Just one.
Where are you?
Knoxville.
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yep.
Wow.
Nice town.
Yeah, I've been here for, I don't know, 5 hours or so. But,
Yeah, why don't you catch us up? What's going on with everything? How are the babies? Let's hear it.
man, everything's doing good. Babies are feeding's started. I've got probably about half of them have between 2 and 3 meals already. Between chicken gizzards and pinks. The ones that started on pinks right away, they've taken gizzards, and the ones that wouldn't start on pinks took gizzards, and now they take pinks. So yeah, that's been going well. I've got maybe like half of them that are the other half are have not fed yet. They seem to be, for whatever reason, they seem to be real flighty. Like, open the tub and, open the tub to spray them or mist them or whatever. And they just like fling themselves off the perch and,
spazzy.
That's a great sign.
Yeah. Right. So we'll see. Hopefully, they'll make it, they will at least. I'll say this: even the ones that have been spazzy like that have been. If I catch them just right, they'll still, bite and strike.
Nice.
It's almost like you got to surprise them though. Like if they're awake, you got to catch them when they're perched up and hit them, and then you've got like one or two strikes before they freak out.
So you're trying different times of the day, like night, morning, all that shit.
Yeah. Night, day, chick scent, no scent. Like I said, gizzards. Haven't tried. That's it so far. Just gizzards and pinks. But yeah, I mean, so far, it's been.
What else is there? You go get
had better clutches, worse clutches, but all these seem to be. I don't have any feeling that none of these are going to come around. So we'll see. Yeah, keeping my fingers crossed that they keep pick up 1 or 2 a week. We'll see.
Yeah, listen, the whole I can understand, like, oh man, like, being fucking spazzy like that is one thing, but if it's striking, that's the best sign I feel like for any baby chondro. Because I've, and I'm sure you have as well, chondro. You have, Marshall, but I've had chondros that don't strike at all at that stage, and then they, the head tuckers, I guess you could call them, and then the more you kind of poke at them and get them going, they just fucking run for the hills, and I think that's the worst case scenario neonate right there. But anyways. That's cool. So go ahead. Mark. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say. So yeah, I think between that and I may have to try. Haven't tried geckos, but may have to try some crested geckos. We'll see.
I got you, buddy. Listen, I don't ever make my stock available to nobody, but you're my boy, so holler at me whenever you need me. I got you.
Yeah, I may have to do that.
Now, I will say to this, and by the way, whatever want us, we'll talk later. I'm just saying. I will say this: I had my very most runtiest neonate out of my clutch I had at the end of September, October. I can't remember the dates off the top of my head. But anyways, this thing was always eating, but like it just fucking loved geckos. I think it might have had one quail at baby quail, button quail at one point. And then it, I got it to eat a fuzzy once, and then all it wanted was geckos after that. I counted 24 geckos this motherfucker ate. And now it finally took back-to-back fuzzies.
Nice. Yeah, I saw that on your Instagram today. That's good.
They don't grow too quick. I'll tell you right now, my experience off the geckos, mind you, these are fresh fucking born geckos too, which is probably why I should maybe grow some up first and then, put them down. But they don't, they'll stay alive and they'll eat, but they don't like take off like the way they would take off on a fuzzy or a quail. What's up, Bill? You there?
How are you producing so many damn geckos?
I mean, I don't know. I got 3 groups. And
three groups of what? 1.2?
2.3 and 1. Or no, I'm sorry, no, 1.3 in all of them.
1.3.
Yes.
Yeah, and 3 groups, so nine females.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like every 2 months or something like that. I'll go and like I'll collect like anywhere from 8 to 10 eggs each time. And I still have a bunch of leftover stock from last year because I only had this one neonate that was needing all this geckos. All the other ones maybe took 1 or 2, and then they, or whatever. It was like only just a trial. But this little runt was the only one that just didn't want to get off the geckos. But I, also didn't like force it either. I kind of wanted to see how it was going to grow. And I was kind of a cheapskate, and I think this thing could have easily handled back to back. I think if I would have gave it 2 geckos per sitting, it would have grew a little quicker. But I was just giving it 1 every 5 days, every 3 to 5 days. So yeah. Anyways, I'm just trying to harvest my geckos.
It's interesting. You've noticed a slower growth rate on geckos versus pinks.
Yeah, I would have thought the opposite.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because I'm thinking it's just mainly just the amount of calcium, right? Like it's not, even though it's a fully formed skeleton gecko, I just don't think it's much. I don't know. I mean, they are pretty small, and when they do eat one, it doesn't look like nearly full as it does when it eats a pink or whatever, like anything at that size. And so, yeah, I don't know. And they shit them out very quickly. It's like either like I would say usually by the second day that thing's shitting out that gecko. Which I'm even thinking like I could even done it every 2 days. If I do have one like this next time, I'm not gonna wait 5 days like I'm waiting for a rodent. I'm gonna be hammering this thing with the geckos because I think you can handle it. I think it's a real light meal. But anyways, let's get to you, Bill. You got some updating for us. What's going on? How are the eggs looking in the beta, and how you feel? You sleeping?
Sleeping, yeah. The eggs look great. Second clutch is due to hatch up at Buddy's this weekend. Friday or Saturday will be day 49 or 50. 15 eggs up there looking good according to him. And then I've got about 35 eggs in the incubator and a girl in the lay box and a girl on the verge of ovulating. So, things are going steady. Just it's an exciting kind of on the edge of your seat time right now, and these things are getting ready to hatch, getting ready to lay. Just
gonna be busy.
Yeah, I'm gonna be busy here, in a month. Probably gonna start to get pretty busy. I hope.
Yeah. we would say chondro problems, but the good kind of problems. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
yeah, we're rooting for you, Bill. And you know, obviously Marshall. You know, I think a lot of those ones that are kind of spazzing out and snapping, I guarantee those will come around for sure.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not really worried about them. I mean, obviously it'd be better if they had eaten already, but
Have you assist fed any yet, Marshall? Or are you just letting those just kind of bide their time?
no, there's a couple little that were small. I mean, like there was a pretty big. I don't weigh the neonates, you know, to see
I don't either.
size differences, but I did notice that there's a pretty big disparity between like the biggest and the smallest. So the ones that are like really small, and I don't know, I didn't notice a ton of them come out with unabsorbed yolk. So I don't know if they were just smaller. I noticed that the eggs were smaller than what I am used to seeing. So I have assist fed a couple of them gizzards, and man, they went down so easy.
Yeah.
Like the whole process took like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Versus trying to force a pink or whatever down their throat, which really stresses them out, and you're having to like force it in. You can cut the gizzards into like perfect size strips, and man, they just slide right in.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a lot less stressful for them, and because I think a lot of times when you assist feed and you're trying to assist feed a pink or something that's really too big, kind of screws their head up a little bit. They get scared, and then they maybe start to associate that smell with something negative. And I don't know if it does anything in the long run to help them. So I don't know. The gizzards seem to be the magic trick this year. So we'll see.
Well, in time management too, the 30 seconds it takes to assist feed a gizzard versus the 30 minutes you might spend trying to get that thing to tease and take a head, a pink head, get it stuck in its mouth, which is a difficult task at best, especially Marshall, a couple of the animals you're talking about, you have two chances and then they're done. They throw themselves off the perch, they run. I'm so done with that they get picked up and they get assist fed.
Yeah. And the gizzards make it so easy, you can just, like I said, man, it takes like all of 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And I would think after getting their system primed up with a couple of those that maybe they'll turn around. So,
yeah. Well, it teaches them a lot, it teaches them to get something in their mouth. It teaches them to swallow. And you're right. You don't stress them out by doing it.
That's why you got to get a gecko and toss it in there like Kobe, and you got nothing to worry about. You come back and naturally it hunts it and eats it. What do you know? Anyways, we'll get to all that tonight because I know there are options before having an assist feed. And guys, listen, shout out to tonight's sponsor. Before we get to tonight's sponsor, don't forget Trap Talk Reptile Network is 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. So please make sure wherever you listen to any Trap Talk Reptile Network episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And also on the audio platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. Make sure you leave a rating on those platforms as well. Now, if you're looking for exclusive content, if you want to get more out of what you see out of each episode, please come join the Trap Talk Patreon family. You can do that by clicking the very first link in the description below. Connect to a Discord with over 200 amazing keepers. And actually, just near 300 now at this point. And we have an awesome Instagram group chat. Okay, we have trappers all over the world who are tapped in. So thank you so much to all my Patreon members. Trap Fest 2025 details dropping very, very shortly. Dates already there. So if you want more info on that, come join the Trap Talk Patreon family. Tonight's episode is brought to you by GS Reptiles. I feel like one of the best people you can learn on YouTube when it comes to establishing really, really cool, rare reptiles we could keep in the hobby. That's by going to GS Reptiles on YouTube. All right. Thank you so much, Gary Scavino, for your support, man. And you can also follow Gary's work on Instagram as well. And that's GS Reptiles. Links in the description below. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Focus Cube Habitats, #1 PVC enclosures in the game, designed by Stephen and Ashley over down in Texas. Go to focuscubehabitats.com. You can select from 30 different style of enclosures. Nobody does it like Stephen and Ashley. Shout out to Focus Cube Habitats for all your support. And yes, they're also on YouTube and they're also on Instagram. Links in the description. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Sundown Reptiles. Shout out to Brian Susan. Just saw him at Tinley. It was a great time. Shout out to you if you went to Tinley. Okay. But yeah, Brian Susan over at Sundown Reptiles. Go to his website in the description below. See what he has available. High-end geckos, kahua. He also has awesome abronia projects that are just thriving with him. And of course, the amazing tree monitors, boamai, all the species of tree monitors this man works with. So thank you so much, Brian, over at Sundown Reptiles. Last but not least, shout out to Mark Hager over at Texas Chondros. Go to TX Chondros on Instagram and see the amazing other chondro keepers out of Texas that this man likes to put on the map. And yeah, thank you so much for all your support, Mark. You're one of the best for sure, one of the nicest. And I've learned so much from my man, Mark, all the time. So thank you, Mark. Again, Texas Chondros, go to his website, texaschondros.com. Check out all his projects. And yeah, boys, I don't know what you know about Mike Marshall. Just met Mike over the weekend at Tinley, which you guys were very missed. I had a good time, but you guys were, you know, I was missing my boys. I'm not gonna lie. But anyways, what do you know about Mike Marshall? Marshall?
I've not much, honestly. I checked out his Instagram page over the last couple days, and it looks like he's got some heat that he's working with. Looked like he's had a couple of nice clutches come out, and you know, he's got some good bloodlines he's working with. So I'm excited to hear where he's trying to take it.
Bill.
I know Mike well. Mike has an animal of mine. Mike's uncle is John Fabian, who also has an animal of mine. And so, yeah, I know Mike pretty well. I'm familiar with his work. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having him on. I think it was a good call to have him as a guest tonight.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. He was supposed to be on weeks ago, but once Eugene gave me the green light, I had no choice. I had to pick him from that week slot, and because I didn't know it's Eugene, and he totally understood. He was like, "Fuck," he wasn't tripping. But he came through in the clutch over this weekend. Got to talk to him, and he was ready to come in through for tonight's episode. And I will really, stand on what both of you guys said. This man's collection is awesome, but he also has amazing productions. That's right. He's produced Chondros, and we're going to get to it. So you guys ready to bring Mike on or what?
Yeah, let's bring him on. And I want a Tinley recap as well from both you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys are in for a treat. All right, do what you got to do to get your mind right. Do what you got to do to get hydrated. Episode 614. All of the Treat Tuesday. M&M Chondros coming at you right now. Let's go. Cheers.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
exclusive. Oh,
So stop calling us.
Scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the scrub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
episode 614. Mike Marshall, what is good, my man?
What's going on, fellas?
Hey,
up, Mike?
happy Tuesday, Mike.
Happy
Yeah.
Tuesday. Glad it's over.
You glad Tinley's over? You need a rest?
No, Tinley was fine. No work. Glad work's over today. I got a day off tomorrow, so
Fuck work.
yeah, I'm with you. Healthcare beats you up.
Tell me about it.
What do you do for a living, Mike?
Physical therapist in a hospital.
Shit. Pretty demanding, huh?
Hospital life after COVID's not very much fun.
Are you
Yeah.
Working days? Do you weekends, nights? What do they have you do at the hospital?
Days. So I manage inpatient therapy, so PTOT speech. So
Nope.
mostly dealing with the administrative side, which, it's mental, but it wears you out.
Yeah. When did you start collecting chondros, Mike?
Right before COVID. So 2019, well, even before that. So when I was in grad school back in like 2009, maybe, stumbled across, I think, the pages on Facebook, saw some stuff. Was too broke to do anything back then. Kind of forgot about it for about 10 years. And then one day kind of stumbled back across the pages on Facebook and I was like, scroll through, click on pictures. And then so researched a little bit in late 2019 and then got set up with Ryan Burke in early 2020, right before COVID, and talked to him, got a couple imports, and kind of the rest is history after that.
Yeah, so Ryan Burke, he gets import stuff, right, Bill? He's from Clockwork. Was that the name of the place he's from?
Yeah, he's in Colorado. Yeah.
Colorado. Hey, Bill, you're lagging very, very bad. And you told me to tell you if you look like shit on the screen. You look like on the screen right now. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll exit out and come back in.
All right. Bill just had a podcast. I'd highly recommend it. Idiot Experts in the Idiot, and it was the most clearest picture I've ever seen of Bill on any podcast. And I don't know why he just chooses to go low grade with us. What do you think it is? I don't understand.
I mean, like, was it did he do it on something different?
I'm assuming because he's on his laptop, and just how we give you shit, I guarantee he went live from his phone, and it was fucking perfect.
And it was better? Huh.
Way better, yes. We're gonna ask him. Bill's an honest guy, so we're gonna ask him.
But I missed that. I saw you were talking about my podcast with Adam, who's a great guy, but I really enjoyed getting to know him.
Me too. I love Adam, and I was giving you props on that episode, but I was like, that was the most clearest I've ever seen Bill on any podcast. And Marshall's asking, "What's the difference?" And I'm like, my assumption is that you went live from your phone, not your laptop. Am I right or wrong?
Nope, I was on the laptop.
So it was just so your snake room gets better service than your kitchen does.
Maybe that may be the case.
Okay. Either way, you're back, Bill. Thanks for coming back.
Clear, blurry. You get what you pay for. Okay.
Okay. So okay, Mike. I'm curious, Mike. So back when you're getting imports, I'm sure you were picking localities, right? Obviously. So what were the pure localities that you were after? What were the ones catching your eyes, Mike?
Pretty much Maniquori first. That was the first one I got. And then, right at COVID, once everything kind of shut down, all that importing got shut down too. So
did it though? Because I could have sworn I was still getting import.
It wasn't. Yeah, they were there. It just wasn't as plentiful as it was before.
You're right. There was like a slow period for sure.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure select people got their pick from the importers, with their connections. So kind of got what was left over from Ryan, tried to get in, but so yeah, the first one was Maniquori, nice little yellow Neo, and then we got a Cyclops Jaya. That's what it was labeled as. It looked like a red Cyclops. And then started dabbling into more stuff. Got one of Patrick's animals from his gems by the Sauron girl from back in 2019. That was the sire of my clutch from last year.
So that was your first United States captive born brand was from Patrick?
Yeah. Wasn't directly from Pat, unfortunately. It was from somebody else that sold it as a male. After like 16 months or something after he sexed it. So I bought it as a sexed male.
Yeah, that seems to happen a lot, and not intentionally, because I think when it comes down to, right, guys, like people buy a good amount of chondros and then they figure out the sex ratio as they're growing them up, and there's times where that male just isn't fitting into the projects. Me personally, also, like if I need, I know never get rid of males. If you need, you should have extra males. But what would you say to that, Marshall and Bill? Like how does somebody plan the sex ratio when getting into chondros? You really can't, right?
Well, it depends when you buy them. Obviously, a lot of people.
Because they all want to get them as babies. That's the thing, right? We always preach getting them as babies. So we're talking like buying them as neonates, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's pretty easy, at least in the higher end designer stuff. If you get a neo and you really wanted a female, it's not too hard to, swap those animals out. I see it all the time with my animals and with other people's animals. They either sell it, and then they have the funds to buy, whatever sex they're looking for, or they trade it, for an animal that's roughly the same age, and it's just the sex that they need. I mean, I see that all the time. I help with my animals. I help people broker those deals all the time. So I try to tell people, don't get too hung up on the sex. Just get good quality neos, and then when they get sexed, most of the time you have a lot of options.
Yeah. What would you say to that, Marshall?
Yeah, you can't really plan it, right? Not since shed testing the babies is not really a viable option anymore.
Right.
If you're going to buy 5 or 10 neonates to get started with, you're going to end up with unless you just get really, really unlucky, you're going to end up with you should end up with fairly even sex ratio. And if you get an extra male, then yeah, I mean, you don't often see females for sale, right? So most people will figure out a way to make the female fit into something. But if you've got multiple males, you don't need them. I can see why those are available more often.
So how did you work out your sex ratio with your projects, Mike? Or are you still kind of figuring that out?
Well, shout out to Pat, because we just figured it out yesterday.
Oh yeah, he went to your house and helped you probe, right?
Yeah, so I don't know. I harass Pat all the time, probably at least a few times a week, with sheds or questions or whatever. So one day he just got annoyed with me. He's like, "Well, I'm coming to Tinley. I'll just come over and probe everything." I'm like, I'll hold you to it. I'll pick you up from the airport, drive you around, whatever. So he came over, and I think he probed almost 20 animals yesterday.
Wow. Awesome.
Wow. Yeah. So confirmed a few that we thought were male and female, and then did some of the holdbacks. But
that's a great learning experience. Mike, do you feel like now you'd have the confidence to probe animals on your own?
Yeah. So I tried, I don't know, a couple months ago, I tried a few animals that were a little bit bigger, so it wasn't too bad. And confirmed what they were. So hopefully, yeah, I feel pretty confident doing it. Maybe not so much on the small ones. I let Pat handle all that, but yeah, I think I could do it. It doesn't seem too tough.
It's really not that tough. It's really not that tough. And I think, especially if you have an extra set of hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
To help you. But I really do think that if you're in this game for the long haul, that it's a tool that you need to have.
Yeah, for sure.
You can wait till they're 18 months or 2 years old and, look for that shed. But I think it's a pretty valuable tool to have in your toolbox to be able to probe a 14-month-old, 15-month-old animal. So I hope you learned from it. I hope you took some good note taking from Patrick. He's very good at what he does. I've sexed neos with Patrick before. And it's not that hard. It just takes a little practice, a little confidence.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I learned though. My guessing is shit.
That's what I was going to ask. Were you surprised by what you thought? What you thought was what as far as sex goes?
Yeah. So two of the biggest neos, and they're pretty big. So they're 11 months, and one is like 135 grams, the other is like 150. And I'm like, those are females. They're both males. So,
how's the head? And the head's buddy? Like there's a nice big butt head, or what's the head look like? I always feel like the head kind of tells the story a little bit sometimes.
I just sent you pictures.
Okay. On Instagram, I'll pull them up. Yeah.
It was kind of a thing several years ago. People swore they would be able to tell the way that a neo was perched. I guarantee the way that this thing's perched is female or it's male, and I never bought into it. Some people, yeah, I just don't think it's just looking at a neo gives you a lot of information.
So listen, how old is this neonate, Mike?
11 months.
Okay, so mine's not that old, but I got to tell you, my assumption, just like you, Mike, because I have ones that are kind of taking off a lot more quicker than the others, but they have literally fucking asses on their heads. Like it's like meat on their head. And I always just, and I could obviously be completely wrong. I'm not definitely not probing mine. I'm kind of like anti-probe, even though I know how to do it. I just don't have extra hands. I ain't going there. So we'll find out if I'm right or wrong the long way, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know. What I mean, am I right or wrong, right, Mike? Because the head's not as big as the body, like, as far as like the meat of the top of the head, or is it the angle? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
That one might just be the angle. That one's pretty big. That one, I weigh everything because I'm a nerd, but that one's like 115, 100.
You there? Say it again.
Am I glitching?
I didn't hear the last part. The last part kind of broke up.
No, I said that one is pretty big. It's like 115, 120 grams. So I thought there was a chance that one was a female, but that one's a male. It's not, the head's not quite as big as the others, but the other males are huge.
And this is a female, right?
That one was a male.
Oh, this is a male too? Okay.
Let me see.
How does that weight compare to the clutch mates?
The smallest one I have right now is 90 grams at 11 months. So they go anywhere from like 90 to 160 probably.
Wow, and all fed on the same schedule, and they were all like the ones that are the smallest. Those aren't. I mean, were they the late starters or runty as babies, or have you? I mean, pretty
So
much similar.
I weighed everything out of the egg after I separated once they're on the perch. So every Neo was 9 or 10 grams out of the egg. There was 3 stragglers. Those 3 stragglers are like 90, 93, and like 100 grams at 11 months. So
Did you sex all of those? Did you and Patrick sex all of those?
yeah, Pat did them all.
And what was your male to female ratio?
So, I only did the holdback. So I have 8 holdbacks. So it is 4 and 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you, I don't know, we didn't really get to how it was with your experience establishing that clutch. Well, how was that?
All over the place.
Yeah.
Knowing, I wish I knew then what I know now, that's for sure. The experience of going through that first.
So you weren't really kind of prepared to what you were going to get into is what you're saying.
I mean,
like,
I was
mentally as far as like everything.
So if you step back a little bit, I had a joint pairing with Keno, and one of the Neos that I got from that clutch after I brought it home stopped eating, or just was a pain in the ass. So I got a little bit of experience there. And
that one came around. That one came around for you though.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then I got another one around the same time from Pat, from his Prada by Arfac Jaya clutch. And that one, after shipping, decided it wasn't going to eat for a while. So I had to get those 2 reestablished at like the same time. So that was, I mean, somewhat getting my feet wet with it, but nothing prepared me for that first clutch.
So
And I saw your first clutch. You had what, like 14 out of 16 or something like that? Were patched, and how many of those did you end up feeding on their own?
18. It was 18 out of 20.
Okay.
And all 18.
Oh wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's damn good.
Well, I mean, shout out to Bill and the chicken gizzards, because that was a lifesaver.
Chicken gizzards are where it's at, man. I'm telling you.
Another point for the chicken gizzards.
Yeah, I like the mouse legs too, but it's just a lot of work to prepare them.
Oh yeah, I mean, no offense, I love you, Ryan, but that shit's brutal, bro. It gets, and it smells like, even though, like, I'm just saying, there's something about the inside of a mouse that's just.
Yeah, you got to cut them up real good.
Mouse butcher.
Even though they did work, I think I had 2 that preferred taking a mouse leg over anything, and I was like, whatever, But again, I've yet to try the chicken gizzards, but I'm ready to rock. Hopefully, for my next clutch I ever have to establish, I'm gonna have that, I think, ready, because I for instance, like, I just got done talking about how many geckos my runt took. I never offered it any chicken gizzards. I guarantee that probably would have maybe, like, what if it could have been better, I don't know. So But yeah, shout out to the kids, chicken gizzard, fucking wizard over here, Bill Stiegel.
Yeah, my mark on the
Really?
the Chondro game.
That's a band name. I'm pretty sure.
The Gizzard Wizards?
Yeah, the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
All right, so okay, Mike, let's get back to this 18 neonate clutch that you got to go the distance. So I'm assuming you waited till they all hatched and then obviously like their first shed, or did you do any pre shed meals offering to any of them? How did you approach this clutch?
No, I waited till after the first shed for all of them. Some ate right away. I think I had maybe like 5 or 6 that ate right away.
Good.
And then a couple that gave me a run for my money, but eventually ate after like the first week or so. A couple that ate right away decided they weren't going to eat again for like a month.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. They all came back around.
Mike, when you say right away, like give us an idea. Like, what did you feed them that day they shed, or when?
Oh yeah.
Okay, the same day.
Yeah. Super aggressive. Like when I was cleaning the shed out, and I'm like, oh fuck, you're biting me. So all right, give you a pink. Ate it right away, and then decided not to eat again for a month. But then after that month, it just went right back to eating right away. Never missed a beat after that.
Did Mike? Did you assist feed any of those 18?
I think 5. So I just once I went to the chicken gizzards after trying to beat them up, tickle them, touch them, tap them, rub them, pinch them, whatever. Then when that didn't work, that's when I went to the chicken gizzards and just kind of figured that out, like the right size, just cutting it up and stick it right in their mouth and close the bin and walk away. Usually they ate it pretty quick. So that was a lifesaver.
Oh, you didn't even have to like force, like push it in. You just got it, stuck it in their mouth and walked away.
At first, yeah, I was trying to like get it into like the back of the throat and like fighting them. But after, towards the end of needing the chicken gizzards, I figured out if you just cut them a little bit smaller and kind of just get them into their mouth, like maybe about the size of their head, they couldn't really spit them out, and they didn't really fight you because it wasn't like pushing it down their throat, and they just would swallow it right down. So once I got that down, then it was smooth sailing.
Like how many?
What are you doing, Bill? Like how big are you cutting these things?
A little bit bigger than Mike's describing. I'm cutting them into size really of like a small pink, a strip.
Yeah.
And,
Basically the size of the girth of the snake, right, Bill? Just about the same size, you'd say?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any magic size, but I think if you're going to assist feed a little bit bigger, then you do have to be a little bit more aggressive about getting a little bit farther down than something that's just the size of like a pink head where you just put it in their mouth and then basically one swallow and it's gone.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Mike, like what would you say, like how many times would you have to assist feed before you'd start getting some like strikes and wraps?
So a couple of the ones that I had to assist, they would strike and throw all night.
No, that's a classic, strike and throw.
That was probably the more frustrating thing, because I think there was a couple of them that would strike like maybe in the whole week of trying to feed them like every few days, maybe 100 times, just strike and throw, strike and drop. So then that's when I kind of switched over to the gizzard for them. A few of them only needed a couple gizzards to kind of figure it out, and then there was 3 of them that probably got too aggressive with the tease feeding and trying to beat them up with the pink when they didn't eat, and then they started to you could see them like stress out. Then they would shit and piss and kind of tuck their heads, and nothing would work at that point. So once they started doing that, that's when I just left them alone for a while and went to the chicken gizzards, just grab their head, put the gizzard in, and walk away. Didn't even take them off the perch.
And Bill, I was gonna say to you, Bill, because where I get my gizzards at, there's pieces of the lung and there are pieces of the heart. Are you using both, or like what do you know which one you like to use?
Yeah, Matthew in the chat asked that same question, and I think any of those parts would be acceptable items. The chicken gizzards I used because they were just so available. I mean, every time you go to the grocery store, there's chicken gizzards there. And sometimes they're mixed with the hearts. I think you could use any piece of that, part, and it would be equally as effective. The gizzards for me, I chose those just because of the availability.
That's just meat.
Yeah.
It's just meat. It's just
What what exactly is a gizzard?
That's a good question. Parts is parts. I don't know.
Their stomach.
The insides. It's the insides. It's like it's definitely the heart and it's the lungs.
Well, gizzard is different than a heart and a lung. It's a different organ on a chicken. And I don't know exactly what the gizzard is. I think, isn't it somewhere near like their throat or something?
Let's look it
I
up.
have no idea.
I'm not even sure. I mean, parts are parts,
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Somebody needs to search what part of the chicken gizzard
We're
is.
pulling this shit up right now. Enough is enough.
Well,
we're not
Jordan,
their stomach.
You said it's a muscle in the neck.
We're not going to like
I
degenerate.
was thinking is the digestive system, but I could be wrong.
Marshall, I'm going to read the damn definition, okay? So you know this is for you, okay? Chicken gizzards are a muscular organ within the chicken digestive system, acting as a stomach to grind food. There you go. It's the stomach part. Right?
Parts is parts.
Parts is
Yeah.
part.
Meat.
I've had fried chicken gizzards and they're fucking bomb. They're really good.
You're right.
Oh.
I have too. I've had fried chicken gizzards too. They're very good.
No thanks.
I'm pretty sure the oil was just on point that night, but I don't know. But listen, so okay, going back to what we were talking with your establishing here, Mike. You had some that kind of turned the corner pretty quickly, and that's going to you, Marshall. Obviously, you had the albino that was only because I forget if the albino was assist fed once or twice, and then it started eating. Well, can you clarify how many times it was assist fed?
I would have to go back and look. Honestly, it ate one meal pre-shed, if I remember correctly, because it was a runt, and you remember it had the umbilical cord tied around itself, didn't absorb yolk. It was way smaller than the rest of them. So when the clutch mates started to shed, and a week went by and it hadn't shed, it didn't look like it was going to. I was getting ready. I'd cut some gizzards up that night to go ahead and assist feed it. And I offered it a pink man and it took it pre-shed. And then I think I don't think I ever had to assist it, honestly. I'd have to go back and look, but I think I know it took a pink the first time, and then maybe I assist fed it one gizzard, and then it took off, and like once it's shed, it's been kind of
Wait, you're albino? You're the one that's the first albino you hatched from last year?
Yeah, it's not the first, it's like the 8th, but yes, the one from last year.
The one that's alive, fucker, is what I mean. I'm just saying.
Yes, that's right.
Didn't you shove a rat tail down its throat? It was a rat
Oh,
tail.
yes. Yeah. No, you're right. It is a rat tail. Yes, you're right.
All right. It was just one, though, right? It was just one.
It was one or two. My record keeping's not the best. So I don't remember. I'd have to look it up in my app to see. I have no, I know. Yes, I did give it at least one or two rat tails before it took off, and then I had the gizzards ready, and then it went back on pinks. That's what it was. It ate one pink pre-shed, then it stopped feeding for a couple weeks, and I was like, oh, screw this. I'm not going to take a chance and let it get too, it's already too small. So gave it a couple rat tails, and then right as I was about to go gizzards, it started feeding on its own with pinks. And I gave it a few gizzards in between here and there.
And Mike, for the stubborn ones with yours, when did they start kind of like turning the corner?
The 3 stubborn ones, they turned the corner when I called your buddy Blake.
Oh yeah,
I
Blake
got
who? Wait, for the record, Blake who? Just let the record reflect here for a minute, okay?
your sponsor.
Thank you so much. Dun, dun, dun. Blake Exotic Feeders, #1 quail. Please take it from here, Mike. What about Blake and his quail? What did it do for you?
Oh, it was awesome. So I called him up, or I texted him, and he overnighted a pack of button quail, the smallest button quail that he had. Thanks, Blake. And a couple had to kind of assist them a little bit, like where I just stuck the head in their mouth the first time, and then 2 of them, I think the second time, struck and wrapped the button quail, and then like the third time, the last one struck and wrapped the button quail, and then after that they flipped the switch and then went right to small fuzzies, and then they never missed a meal again.
How old were they by that point, Mike, when you were giving them a button quail?
I want to say it was like 4 months.
Oh, so yeah, pretty young. Cool.
Yeah. So I tried not to assist them as much as possible. So I'd tease feed and go through that whole thing every week, every few days. Sometimes when they're getting stressed out, I just leave them alone for 4 or 5 days and then try again. And then once it started getting a little bit further down the line, then I really kind of forced the issue with the gizzards. And then once I don't know, you had an episode or something, you were talking about the button quail, so I tried it. A couple other people recommended it too, and they were big enough, so I wasn't too afraid of it. So just tried it. It worked.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that the kicker with mine is you cut the head off and you leave that long part of the neck with the little blood that comes out. It's like it makes them go psychotic. But yeah, awesome. And then it was quick. You said a couple quails, and then they got them to fuzzies right after that, right?
Yeah, 2, 3. Yeah. And then they switched.
So these button quail are small enough to feed newly hatched chondros.
I don't want to say newly. No,
newly. No,
okay.
Mine,
I would wait a month. I would wait 2 months at the least. I think 2 months of them eating consistently. Obviously, like if they're off to a good start. And mind you too, obviously I've only hatched out BX or BX type stuff, and so they've all been pretty hardy and big. I know that some of you guys have hatched some really smaller neonates because of the designer lines and stuff like that. So I think it all depends. I think I'm better off waiting about like 4 to 6 months where I'm not not paranoid about it at all.
Yeah. So Mike, a second ago you said that the ones that you had that turned the corner for you when you started offering them quail, had they gotten bigger because of because you've been assist feeding them, or were you just doing part? Okay.
Yeah. So they were close to like 20 grams at that point. So they're pretty decent size. They weren't tiny. I didn't let them starve or anything where they'd get like emaciated or anything like that. So they were still pretty good size, just kind of living off the chicken gizzards. But I just was like, I'm at the end of the rope with them. So I tried the button quail and it worked. So
I think that's a good thing about either chicken gizzards or mouse legs or anything other than a pink. You can actually put size on an animal.
Yeah.
By just feeding them. There's so much nutrition in those alternative prey items that you can put size on them. You're not behind the 8 ball all the time. Just trying to feed them a pink head or trying to get a pink down. You can actually get size on these animals by assist feeding them. Within a relatively short period of time.
Yeah. I never tried the pink head. It just seemed like too much work.
Yeah, I would.
You could just go to the gizzard.
Yeah. The only thing for me a pink head is good at is if you can get it to, strike off the tongs and get a pink head lodge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But the nutritional value is almost zero.
Yeah, it's like bullshit. Like I feel like you're gonna have to give it like maybe 3 heads or something like that. Which also I feel like we shouldn't be opposed to giving something like if it will take back-to-back meals. I don't think you should be like obviously not assist. Actually, I don't even know, maybe even assist feeding, Bill. Don't you think some of these chicken gizzard strips, they don't look like it fills them up too much? Or are you looking or can you see a good bulge in them after they eat them? What are you experiencing after they take one of the chicken gizzard strips that you give them?
No, I mean, when you're assist feeding, you're not giving a big enough meal to cause a noticeable bulge in the animal. But, I think a small piece of chicken gizzard is just as nutritious or more nutritious than an entire pink. So, I'm not looking for a bulge after you assist feed. I'm just looking for them to just get them through another week. Just get them through another week. That's all I'm looking to do.
Yeah, I remember.
I'll say this: the ones that I did assist feed the gizzards, I went big on the gizzards.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just because it slid down, it slid in so easy. That didn't have the legs and the legs kind of make it harder to kind of get things going in there. But a thin, long strip.
Thin, long strip. Yeah, that's what I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it definitely left a bulge.
Did it?
Yeah.
I want to say that's what she said about like 10 times, right? The last like fucking 3 sentences that Marshall just said right now. Fucking Anyways, it's no, but yeah, for I know definitely with one of the neonates I was talking about earlier of mine that liked the mouse legs over anything else. I actually accidentally gave one of them 2 in one sitting, and I was like, holy shit, how did I not catch that? And I hit up Ryan. I'm like, Ryan, have you ever given your neonates back-to-back mouse legs? And he's like, fuck yeah, all the time. And I was like, all right. I was like, all right, cool, good to know, you know. And sure enough, that one turned out to be like that was number 8 and one I'm holding back. So yeah, I wonder if you do have one that would actually take, because Bill, you've even said you've had them take the chicken gizzards off the forceps, right? Like actually you tried feeding them, right? All the time?
All the time, especially once they're established. And I alternate, you know, pinks, gizzards, ASFs, you know, that's just my rotation. Once they're established, you know, they'll strike and wrap anything at that point.
Yeah, because you guys all know, like these chondros, when they're fully established, they are fucking machines. And once I feel like you get them to eat like something like a chicken gizzard or even a gecko, I don't even wait too long to either give them another one then, or like even in the next couple of days, because then they just get in the routine of just eating and they just want to eat. And that was my experience with some of these. And I was like, all right, like, you know, you almost have to like force the eating habit into them, you know, but once they understand what the food's for, they want it. Like they become like a whole nother beast, you know? So, you know, you would say definitely the chicken gizzards was like your number one toolbox savior for this clutch, Mike, or what would you say that yeah?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just so easy. I mean, you know, I spent, you know, hours like everybody else. You spend hours and hours and hours in front of those tubs with, you know, a handful of animals, and then, you know, it's just for what? Just switch it over to the gizzards. You're done in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I just put a cutting board next to the rack and just would cut a little chunk off, warm it up for a few seconds, throw it in their mouth, go to the next one. You know, I'd try to feed them, you know, a pink. If it didn't work, then right to the gizzard, go to the next one. And then, you know, same thing. If some of the established ones and that were eating pretty well, I just cut a big chunk off, like the size of a large pink or a small fuzzy, and they take it right off the tongs.
Yeah,
so it was a good supplement.
Yeah.
Of the ones that I've gotten.
Go on, Marshall.
No, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, they'd wrap a chicken gizzard just like it was a mouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Probably about, I don't know, of the 10 or 11 that I've gotten that have had 2 to 3 meals already, I would say half of them refused pinks the first time, but they took gizzards off tongs the next time I offered it.
Hey, Mike, you got an assassin in your room right now.
Yeah, my oldest daughter, she doesn't come say hi.
Hi, oldest daughter. How are you?
Oh, they're school supplies.
Future chondro breeder right there.
Oh, it's the other one. The younger one likes the snakes. She doesn't like them. Say hi.
Hi.
This is Kaylin.
Hey, I didn't mean to throw you under the bus, but I thought you were gonna like assassinate your father. Worried.
I'm just trying to get folders.
No, you're good. You're good. Nice to meet you.
She's trying to get that insurance policy early. Joke's on her. Gets more money down the road.
I gotta ask you, Mike. How big's your collection? How many chondros you have?
28.
Nice. Fuck yeah.
Well,
And what's the adults to baby ratio and all that?
So I got 8 yearlings. 8. They're kind of like 2 years old. And then 12 adults or subadults. They're kind of like 3, 4, 5 years old, 6 years old.
And then breeding adults right now is what? How many breeders you have, like male and female?
One breeding age female. That was the female from last year that had the clutch.
Nice.
And then I'll have one import that I might pair up. She might be like 5 this fall, or 2 females. I got a Sorong female and a Mizal female. The one I was wild caught as an adult, so I have no idea how old she is. The Mizal female, I got her as like a yearling, so she'd be like 4.5, 5 right now. So
you plan on pairing her soon?
Probably pair her in the fall. I think I'm gonna do the Sorong female first. She's cooling right now, so she's just doing something different. Normally she's under the panel. she'll go back and forth, but always ends up under the panel. The last like 2 weeks, she's decided to go to the cooler side. So that's different for her. So I'm going to keep cooling at night and start feeding a little bit more and see if I could do a little spring pair with her. So then I'll hold off on the Mizol till the fall, and then I'll probably repeat the same male with the same female from last year, and then do Cyclops Jaya male to the Mizol female. So,
so your females, you know, put her size back on. She's recovered well, and you feel comfortable breeding her back-to-back years.
Well, so it'll be like 18 months from laying to the next pairing.
Okay.
So I paired her fall of 23, and she laid in February of 24. So I'll pair her again, either to the same male or to one of his offspring. I might try a younger male for this go around.
How young?
He'll be 2.5.
It's not that young.
So
believe it or not, like you I mean, I had experience with actually Bill's or not. Yeah, Bill's. I think Bill's the one I got, A&W. I barely 2 years old or not 2 years old, but
yeah,
locking girls up, man. The thing that scares me about that though is like this dude didn't want nothing to do with food. Like I was like, holy shit, all he wants to do is bone, and he's so small. And I was like, but then I noticed that the times he wanted to eat was like, of course, in the middle of the night, and that's when she's ready to fucking eat, and it's like, oh god. And so that's when I would either pull him and then have to wait at night for this dude to want to eat, which I gave him small meals, but I had my first experience with like actually more than one male that just all they cared about was laying down the pipe. When they used to go from eating no matter what time of the day it was. But it's funny how that would happen to a young man.
That's how. So the Patrick male that sired my clutch, that's how he was his first breeding season. So he went off food like late spring, I think, in 2022. Yeah, late spring 2022. He had 4 meals in a year.
Wow.
And that's I sent him over to Keno's because Keno lives like a half hour away from me. And then he did the joint pairing in late 2022. So we had the babies in early 23. But he was like 2.5 when he sired his first clutch. 3 maybe. So
yeah, they can do it at that age for sure. I had a male this year that's 2.5 who's getting, who's impregnated a girl. She hasn't laid yet, but yeah, he got the job done at 2.5.
Yeah, so he'll be 3 for 3. So I don't know if I want to use him again, just to diversify a little bit.
Bill, isn't 2.0 pretty young?
Yeah, he's 2.5, and he.
Oh shit! I thought he was younger than that. But
he's 2.5, and yeah, he's getting. The female that I paired with him that's the one that I think we've talked about before. I've been ultrasounding, and she's got big follicles. We ultrasounded her again, 26 millimeter follicles just a few days ago. So she's right on the verge.
And okay, let me ask you guys all this because I'm starting to, I don't want to get my hopes up, but I have a couple girls that are off food, and I saw that like a little bit of a glow in them. You guys see that like little change in their coloration before they actually start kind of like showing signs of like getting close to the big show? And you guys notice that, Bill?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Color changes. All
it looks good though. Like it's like a nice, like almost like like it's I don't know. It's just almost elevated in a sense, like a glow. It's like, I don't know. What, Marsh, have you ever seen that before?
Oh yeah, for sure. Cool. They just look. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on it, and they're all a little bit different. I mean, obviously the hormonal blue is what a lot of them do, but I would say, kind of like in ball pythons a little bit. You know how you'll see a female that that start to people say glow. Their colors just look brighter, look a little bit different. Can't necessarily put my finger on exactly what it is, but when you walk in the room and you're looking at the animals every day, you can notice if there's a little bit of a change. That one looks a little different, you can't really put your finger on it, but
we all know there's a thing with women too, like in humans, like women have this pregnancy glow, like it's fucking kind of hot. I'm not gonna lie. I saw it with my wife last year. It was epic. So we know this glow thing's real, like for sure, 100%.
Yeah, it happens in chondros, no doubt about it.
And then Mike, I'm curious, did you notice any of that with your female? Like, I'm curious, Mike, as you know, you being, fresh into stepping into breeding chondros, like what did you see behavior wise from your female? Like, I know we just talked about going from the panel to not, or was it not on the panel to under the panel? Like, what can you tell us what the behaviors you were seeing before she kind of went into ovulation and all that?
So that female, she doesn't move. She sits in the cool spot in the corner, never moves. Like she'll stretch out from the back perch to the front perch, right to the glass, waiting for food. That's her norm. When I paired them, they went right at it first night. I want to say they locked like 9 or 10 times over like 6 or 7 weeks from October into early December. Once she refused in kind of like mid-December, I think it was, he was still trying, but she wanted nothing to do with it. So if he was in the tank, like she would run to the corner and tuck her head. If I pulled him out after the first refusal, she would go and sit right underneath the middle of the panel, and she never sits under the heat. Maybe like one or 2 days a month at the most, she might sit on like the corner of the panel a little bit, get a little bit of heat, and then goes right back to the cool spot. But after I pulled him just to see what would happen, she went right to the heat. So I put him back in because everyone said leave the male in until she ovulates. But as soon as I put him back in, like she'd run back to the corner of the cage again and kind of like hide. He'd be all over, but she would kind of just run away from him. So then I just pulled him, and then she sat underneath the panel and didn't move until she ovulated.
I think that's really very typical behavior. And I've gotten to the point too where once the female refuses, I'll put that male in maybe a couple of more times, but it's kind of like you described. It's just not happening. She's just not allowing it. And so at that point, I don't even put the male back in. I just wait for the female to ovulate.
Yeah. So I just kind of, everyone says, listen to your animals. So if the male was there, she ran away. If he wasn't there, she went under the heat, and I knew that was different. And I knew eventually she'd warm herself. So I just left them out and rolled with it. And she ovulated and had 20 eggs. So.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen from even visiting Socrates' place, there's females grounded, or you could tell maybe the females like want to get away from the males, but a good breeder male will find that female and will still lock that bitch. You know what I mean? And so
he tried.
Yeah. I guess that's what you want out of any breeder male, is just to like, whatever, I'm going to go get situated. And once you lay down, I'm coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I'm telling you, even with the most potent male, once a female's done, she's done.
Yeah.
And, she will not let that male, no matter how persistent he is, when she's done, she's done. And
but what do you mean, like done as in she's about to ovulate? Done?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Like once she's gone off food.
It's over. Yeah. No, they it's like a light switch, Bill, right? They just the male doesn't want. I mean, okay, you have some horn dogs that might persuade towards the day of ovulation, but like from what I've seen, Bill, it's like night and day. They go from not like all over her to like on the opposite side, almost squeezing to like just get the fuck out of there type of shit. You know what I mean?
I've never seen a lock and then a female ovulate like 5 days later.
Yeah.
Usually they're way done before that. And they could lock every night, consistently. But once she's done, once she goes off food, then she's done. And even the most persistent male's not going to get any at that point.
Yeah, Mike, did you notice your male kind of over it? Like up to like the couple weeks or weeks of her ovulating? Like, did you notice he just went from smashing to just like, I don't want nothing to do with it?
Well, I pulled him. I never put him back in.
So you only put him in once and pulled him.
Well, after the first refusal, I pulled him. Gave her a couple days. She sat underneath the panel, so I put him back in. She ran away and went to the cool spot. And then, so then I pulled him again. Then she went right back under the panel like minutes later, and then never moved again until she ovulated.
And so, Bill, you're pretty comfortable at this point pulling that male even before ovulation. Like when you no, you're just like,
Yeah.
all right, you could just pull them at that point for you.
Yeah, for me. And then, again, I don't want to harp on the ultrasound, but when you can confirm with the ultrasound female's off food, maybe she refuses food a couple of times and you put the male in and they're normally pairing, but now like Mike described, they just stay on opposite ends of the cages. You pull the ultrasound machine out and you go, oh shit, she's got big follicles. She's done.
Yeah.
Once the female's off food, it's over.
Yeah.
You're
so.
done.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, once, okay, if she refuses one time, okay, maybe that's just a freak refusal. But if she's consistently refusing a couple of meals and they're no longer locking, then it's done.
So I had a girl, Bill, like who was my most psychotic eater since I've had her as a neonate. She was on her 3rd week refusing. And when I thought on that 3rd day of me offering, when I thought, oh, she's, and she was acting different too, right? So I'm like, okay, this is it. I remember it was last week as I was kind of getting ready to go to Tinley. It was late at night. I was in here doing stuff and she was right there at the glass. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. So I gave her a meal and she ate. But then I put your boy back in and he went right back to locking her. So
right. So she wasn't done,
No.
But I think it's like a step in the right direction, when they slow down on food. I've had a couple of females where I could get them to take a meal, but it was almost like I had to tease them,
Yeah.
And they reluctantly take, but then shortly after that's like their last meal and then they're done.
Yeah. Well, let's get into feeding. Mike, what's your go-to? Well, what are you comfortable feeding your adult female chondros? Like either getting into breeding, getting ready to breeding, and then also during breeding. Let's get to like what your regiments are when it comes to feeding rodents.
So I feed mice up until they're big enough for weaned rats, and then I switch over to weaned rats, and then eventually small rats.
Finally, someone I can relate to.
Yeah. I mean, I work a lot. I coach with my daughters. So time isn't always there to, I think they go through mice a little bit faster than they go through rats. So I do rats every 3 weeks or so just for normal feeding. And then for the females, I'll drop down back to large mice every 7 to 10 days or so. At least that's what I did the one time for last year's clutch.
So so when you cycled her, you went to mice every 7 to 10 days?
Yeah. So just smaller meals.
I mean, how many times you do that? How many times did you have to do that for? Like how many feedings were you doing 7 to 10 small mice meals or mice meals?
It wasn't many.
Yeah, right.
Maybe 5 or 6.
Oh,
I can pull it up.
Oh,
but it wasn't many. I left them alone if they were locking. I didn't bother them if there was still some action. So I'd separate only when they separated, and then I try and feed. 6 meals after introductions.
Yeah. So that's how you like to cycle is you go from rats on a regular basis, and then once it goes to more frequent meals, you go to mice. But are you shutting them off before that moment? Like, do you have a cycling period where there's no food like at all?
Yeah, I fasted her in the summertime just because she was refusing to shit. So she holds her poop pretty long. So usually have to rain chamber or put her in the shower or whatever to get her to go. But she was just refusing to poop for the summer. So like July, August-ish. So I'm like, all right, I'll just not feed you. So kind of just naturally fasted her for July and August, and then started feeding after a shed and a poop in September. So it just kind of worked out that way. And I know some other people, I think MARC fasts in the summertime and then feeds heavy going into the breeding season. So I know a couple of people that did that. So I'm like, well, kind of just worked out. So I'm going to try it. See what happens.
Marshall did the same thing.
Yeah. I did the same thing. And the 2 females that ended up taking, they took after like 1 or 2 meals back on after not eating all summer.
That's crazy.
And only had 1 or 2 meals and then stopped feeding again.
What'd you give a Marshall? A small rat, or did you give him mice? I can't remember.
Nah, just mice.
Wow. And before all this, they were eating rats. They were actually on rats, right?
I mean, I'm not super diligent about, only mice or only rats. I mean, I try to save my mice, and grow them up to, like, I don't know. It's hard for me to grow a jumbo mouse. To me, that's like a retired breeder. So that's like that's a 6 or 9 month old mouse, to get to what I would consider jumbo size. So, but for me, like an adult mouse, the strain of mice that I have is pretty small. So it takes a while for them to get that big. So I'll try to feed them. I mean, I'll try to raise the mice to where they get to that size. It takes probably, once they're weaned, it takes a month, I would say, to get them to a large mouse size, and then I'll freeze those off, and save them for the chondros. But if I have, like for example, this past week I had a ton of extra rat pups or rat crawlers, and so instead of thawing mice out, I fed everybody rat crawlers that night, just because that's what I happen to have the most of. So I'm not super diligent about it. I don't know that it makes a huge difference, honestly. I've gone from over the years, when I first started doing it and first started breeding, I fed. I'm pretty sure it was Eugene that told me, get them on rats as soon as you can. So I would start feeding them rats I would get them on rats as soon as they could take rat crawlers or rat pinks. And then, a couple years later, then Rico came in, and Rico only fed mice, and that's kind of where everybody went. I'm only going to feed mice. So I don't know. I don't think it really makes that much of a difference, to be honest with you. That's my personal opinion.
I think as long as it's shitting right, I think you don't have.
That's right.
But I do notice, like for instance, there might be times, like if you are feeding more frequently, like obviously you can't pull that off by doing it with rats. I don't think, unless it's like a rat pup or a lot smaller than a small. You know what I mean? But dude, I got some of these that just won't even fuck with mice. I don't know why. And so I tried doing the whole, let me kind of transition over to mice, and I just noticed they were just wrapping. They would wrap it for like fucking an hour, and they just wouldn't eat it. They'd just drop it afterwards. And a lot of these I've had since babies, and I don't know. I do have some, even with my subadults, I have tried giving them mice, and they just look at it like they'll smell it and they'll go, "I'm good. I don't want that." But yeah, I don't know. I think when it comes to hitting them multiple times within a 2-week period, I think mice would be a more safer bet as far as on the digestive system. See them shit. But now I gotta tell you, after my whole egg bound situation, I fucking literally, not only do I document, but I'm a hawk on making sure these females are shitting. Like I look for it all the time after they eat, and then I won't feed them until they shit for sure. Just to make sure they're clear.
Just one meal.
Yeah, I'm 1 milling it. Yep. And they're shitting. I mean, because like I said, I feed mine small rats every 2 weeks, and they're probably shitting that out within a week. That you see the shit. And if not, I get them moving. You know what I mean? I'll get them moving to where they will shit for sure.
Jealous.
Yeah. But anyways, so let me ask you this, Mike. Like you feel like your female, you didn't weigh your adult female that bred for you, or did you weigh her? Like, did you keep track of her weight when it came to like laying and then gaining size? Are you paying attention to that at all, or no?
Yeah. I do less now, but I did more weighing back then, just because I never did it before. So I was more curious on just kind of what's going to happen. So she wasn't huge, but she was like 900-ish grams when she laid. After she laid, she was down to like 650. So she lost quite a bit.
But she bounced back quick, huh?
Not really. I fed her. It took a while for her to go back on and eat, like 2 weeks or so.
That's not that long. Would you guys say? I mean, would you guys say, Bill, 2 weeks after laying is not
Very-
average, but that's not too long, right, Bill?
No, it's very normal to me. I mean,
Yeah.
2 weeks is very normal.
Kind of took my time getting her back up to small rats again, but she really didn't put on her size until probably closer to like this past December. So it probably took about 8 months or so, 9 months
What
to
month?
really start putting size back on.
What month did she lay again, Mike?
End of February.
Okay. And so this year she skipped, right? You didn't get a clutch this year, right? Okay. So now going into next year, you're just going to pair the exact same time you did when you did pair last
year. Ballpark, yeah, October-ish. I'll probably pair after a shed cycle. So whenever that works out, I got to look at, when she's due. So September, October-ish. Kind of once the temperatures cool down here, and it's easier to cool the room and all that.
And Marshall and Bill, can you remind me again? Like, I know Marshall, it's with the females that laid, it might be different for you. But Bill, for the most part, when you have a proven breeder female go for you, has it moved on throughout the year, later and later, or does it always stay around the same month? Or how's it working from your experience?
I've had them do both. I've had some females that will literally lay almost to the day, that they've laid in years past, and I have other females that will hold out and go a month later or 2 months later. They just seem to be all over the board.
Same with you, Marshall?
Yeah, same. Yeah.
We'll find out. I'll let you know soon.
Yeah, I'm curious. And then again, like, I know obviously, Bill, there's a point in time where you look at the month of the year and there's no pairing for you, right? And you said that's about coming up, and by next month or so, April, May is when you stop pairing.
Yeah. I think I have 2 females left that are still actively pairing, and looks like they're moving in the right direction. And so I'll continue to pair those. But I've had a couple of other females that, they paired early in the year. Things were looking good, and then all of a sudden they just stopped. They stopped pairing, and they're still eating, and throw the ultrasound on them. They'd paired 4 or 5 months ago, and no follicular development. So at this point in the year, they're done. I won't even try them. But I have a couple of other females that are continuing to actively breed right now towards the end of March, and I'll keep pairing them up, and they'll probably, I'll pair them up all the way through April, even into early May. If they're still pairing and moving in the right direction, then I'll keep working with them. But at a certain point in time, you just get a feeling, right? You just, in medicine, they call it the gestalt. Okay. That's just like your gut feeling about what's going to happen with these animals. And if you've done it long enough and you know these animals well enough, then you just get a feel for if it's going to happen or not. And, so you just go with what they give you, essentially.
And Marshall, what's your plan this year, man? Like, obviously you went a little earlier than you typically do, and that seemed to did good for you. So are you going to do the same thing this year, or what's your game plan?
Man, I'm just trying to get these neonates eating right now. I'm not even thinking about next year yet.
Yeah, coming though, bro. Like, you don't understand. Like, this shit flies by, and I feel like we're gonna be in June, in no time, and then next thing you know, you're gonna be shutting down the collection of eating and stuff. So I mean, it's coming.
Yeah, no. I got a couple months. To figure it out. Right now, I'm just trying to feed everything. Get both the females that laid this year have bounced back. You wouldn't know that either of them had laid. And then I've got another 1 or 2 on the bench that will be primed up and ready to go for next year. So, but right now I'm just trying to really kind of decide with the rest of the collection what to do. About to pull my rat snakes out of hibernation and decide if I'm going to pair them up again. But honestly, man, with these 20-something chondro babies, time-wise, like 20 chondro babies, man, I forgot. Like that's no joke, time-wise. You think about, it's been 100+ ball python babies. Getting that going is like nothing. You know, I mean, I say it's nothing. It's work. It's time. But it's like, you go in there, you throw the rats in, and you come back 30 minutes later or an hour later, and you check on them. It's not like you're just sitting there in the chair, like sitting there in front of the rack, just, drop it, grab it, take it up again. Blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I'd kind of forgotten about that or just blocked it out. I don't know. But yeah, it's no joke, man. It can be frustrating. There's been times when I'm like, oh, I got like 15, 20 minutes to kill. Let me go down there and try to do something. And like my head's not in the right spot. And I'm like not wanting to be down there. And I'm like already thinking ahead about what I'm supposed to be doing in 20 minutes. And it never goes well. Never get them to go, never get them to eat at that point. It's got to be, all right, it's whatever. It's Thursday night. It's Monday night. I've got these 3 hours set aside, and like I'll go down there at whatever 6 o'clock, and the next thing I know, it's like, holy shit, I've been sitting in this fucking chair for 3 hours. It's like I got to get up and get out of here.
Marshall's venting right now. Marshall, let it all out. Dude, let's hear it. What else, dude?
I love it, but listen, man, it's the reality, and people that are up and coming and they want to breed, be careful what you wish for sometimes. Because if you have a super busy schedule and you're always looking at the clock and you're wondering, I got to go to bed, I got a full day tomorrow,
Yeah.
It's, listen, it can be a bit of a stressor. And, again, like Marshall said, 20 chondro babies, it can be a handful.
Yeah.
Especially when you obsess over being successful at it. Like, and there's a lot of people, I was even one of them, where, you get your eggs and you think, fuck, like, I'm about to have a bunch of chondro babies, but it's just not that easy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you'll get eggs, and yeah, there's plenty of people who have great first time experiences or even learn something, and that's fine. But like every step should be like something to pat yourself on the back for. Like, Eugene said, be happy you get locks, be happy you got the fucking ovulation. Because as you get closer and closer and closer, the stress just gets thicker and thicker and thicker. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, like Bill said, be careful what you wish for, because when you have 20 neonates that are all in a fucking rack, the least of the stress will be changing out their water dish that has shit in it. That's like, you want that kind of stress, because guess what? They're eating, so that's good.
Yeah.
But imagine before even that, when they're not eating, like you got 20 head tuckers. Oh, good luck.
Yeah. It's hard not to take it personally when you can't get a baby to eat. You feel like, it can be very frustrating, and it's hard, especially early on, not to take it personally, but you have to let that go,
It's unfortunate because the rack I have my neonates in, and these babies are fine, by the way, but there was a couple of them that were so fucking frustrating to me that I actually broke a couple of the bins. So if you come to Trap Fest this year, you'll notice my lower level has 2 missing tubs, because like I just needed something to throw, and mind you, that's not going to hurt anything. If anything, it's just going to create a little mess, which it did. But man, I just fucking it's like Bill said, it's so hard not to get into your own head and eat yourself up over this, because fuck, you know what I mean? Like, it's just nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
And it's stressful. And honestly, you got to check yourself. And luckily, my wife knows me like a book, and she knows like to remind me to leave all that stress and shit in the room. Like, leave it in here. Don't bring it into the house, because it kind of wears you out, dude. It does wear you out. So listen, you gotta know when to dabble, when not to dabble. What I mean by that is like, if you are going to approach to establish a clutch, do it in a good mood, man. Do it when you're ready to win.
Yeah.
You gotta get your head in the game, dude. You really do. It's no joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And give what they take, take what they give you.
Yeah.
And the ones that are, you're getting frustrated by, I've learned,
Leave them alone.
Well, either leave them alone or pull them off the perch and assist feed them, and I'll see you again in 5 days. Don't even think about them again. You have to just let it go.
Yeah. And it's exactly what you need to do, Bill, because there's not much you could do at certain points. You know what I mean? You're only gonna fucking make things worse. Sit there trying to get the same fucking thing to eat for 45 minutes to an hour. You know what I mean?
And the person that just goes back in like night after night,
no,
you're not doing yourself any favors, and you're not doing that animal any favors. you've got to give yourself some rest time, and you got to give the animal some rest time. And so just, when you can distance yourself from that, and just, if things aren't going the right way, you just assist feed it, like Marshall described. In 30 seconds, you're done. See you in 5 days. Fuck you. Close the tub. I'll see you in 5 days. I'm not thinking about you again until then.
I think the ones that were really frustrating, even though it's good that they strike, but the ones that strike and drop, like the ones that they strike it and then they fucking drop it, or they strike it and then they instantly take their mouth off it and they look at you.
Yeah.
And I noticed those ones are good when you serve them up again, like after wrapping. But then you also have the ones that will just do that and drop them. And I'm wondering, if you think go smaller if that's the case, Bill?
Yeah, definitely go smaller. Okay. I think a lot of it's a weight thing, especially the ones that will they'll strike it and then they'll almost give like an angry drop, like not just drop it, but they'll just like fling it like they're pissed.
Yes.
And to me, that's like a smaller meal. So like a small chicken gizzard, or even a head at that point, something just, but I think a lot of it is a weight issue. They strike it and they wrap it and they drop it. For whatever reason, they just think it's too heavy of a meal. So.
Yeah, did you have a lot of those, Mike? Strikers that were just taking it and dropping it like immediately?
Yeah, I had the ones that would throw it. They'd strike and then fling it across the tub.
Yeah,
over and over and over. That was super frustrating.
Yeah.
But I was happy they were aggressive at least.
Sure.
Eventually they ate.
Yeah, that's the thing. Eventually, with time and experience, you can tell yourself, I know this thing's going to eat. But when it's happening to you for the first time or the first couple times, it can just drive you insane. But the good news is that if they're striking and they're doing that, if they're striking and they're wrapping and they're dropping, or they're striking, wrapping, and throwing, they will eventually eat. You just have to be patient with them, and you can't stress them out too much, and you can't stress yourself out too much. Those are the ones that will eat. They will eat.
Yeah. Kind of makes me go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
That was the biggest thing. Once you start getting stressed out, just close the bins and walk away.
Dude, for real.
Nothing good's gonna happen.
Yep.
Dude,
that's right.
I wanted to throw, I don't know how many of them after hundreds of strikes and drops. I just wanted to throw them across the room.
Yep.
But that's when you just close it and go to bed.
Yep.
Come back another day.
Absolutely.
About a quarter for every what the fuck, man. I would be just, dude. I could literally buy every albino off Marshall's fucking collection right now. Loaded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I gotta say, Mike, kind of going back to your, you getting your collection built and whatnot. Did you have any bad experiences that you could maybe like give us a little like, for any new keeper out there, right? And it can be anywhere where like, you got some imports that didn't do too well, or freak of nature shit. I don't know. At the end of the day, this seems like a very positive and uplifting episode, but there has to be something fucking bad that's happened to you, like or it has or not. And I don't want anything bad happening to you, but
I wish. No, I think every time I try to cut a corner, I always got bit. So every time I try and buy in like an adult female or an adult import, none of them came in healthy.
Damn.
They're all Nido crashed within a week or two before I could even figure out what the hell to do and ship them back out or whatever. That
basically dumped on you.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I think every time I went for an older animal, it ended up not working out except for like one time. So
wow.
And that was my female, the breeding female. So
you found out, obviously you quarantined the snake, tested it, and came back Nido negative, positive.
Yep. A bunch of imports like that.
Did it have RI or anything, or like what were the symptoms of it like crashing on you?
Not at first. So I swabbed them. As soon as I get them, quarantine swab them, send it out to RAL. A couple of them, they were asymptomatic, and other ones I'd swab them, they came back positive, and like 3 days later something was going on. Only one of them actually had an RI, or what looked like an RI. A couple of them had more like GI stuff. So who knows? I mean, it could have been other kidneys or dehydration, something like that. But they rolled pretty quick.
Well, it's just like kind of like a sleazeball importer. Like, who are you getting these from?
Nah, I won't say.
No, I don't need names, but like I'm just saying, like, is
No.
like a Florida
No,
dude?
reputable.
Not reputable?
No, he was reputable.
Oh, he was reputable. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we're
I think, people forget that nido virus is in the wild, right? We tend to associate with nido virus like being in captive bred collections or older collections or whatever, but it's in the wild. And even like an importer that, maybe he gets 20 animals. Well, one of them has nido. Well, he's keeping them all together, right? Maybe not with the best husbandry, hygiene, and however long he's keeping them, whether it's a week or a month, before he separates them out and sends them to various people all over the United States. Those animals are all in close contact with each other. So it's just kind of a breeding ground, for all of that nido or whatever else, parasites they may have or diseases. It's just, to me, it's just like, just such a setup.
Yeah.
Let's play a game here. So, like, I know you don't want to say the name, and I'm cool with that, dude. But, if I happen to say words that rhyme to the name, will you let me know?
We've played this game before.
Just kidding. Yeah. No, okay. First and foremost, is this person still relevant in selling animals today, or was he just have a big name and turned out he was a piece of shit? I'm just curious. I'll dead it after this.
I'll just leave it right here. We're good.
So he still sells snakes. Yeah, I'm just saying. He does it?
No.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's all that matters. I just want to look after my people out there, all right?
Yeah.
Because listen, there was historical like ex-breeders who fucking went out shipping out shitty snakes because they knew what they had. And it doesn't happen. I haven't heard stories in a minute of this happening, but it's kind of why we always preach, right, Bill Marshall? Like, if there's a fucking adult female being posted, that was in somebody's collection for a while. I mean, that hella red flags there, right? You would say for the most part.
I don't know about that. I mean, yeah, sure, sometimes, but I mean, there's also people that, maybe they bought a snake or two and they're just getting out of it, and there's nothing necessarily nefarious going on or shady, but they just, an adult animal, particularly females, for whatever reason. It's like Mike was saying earlier, when you try to take shortcuts, like I've tried it. I've probably picked up, I don't know, 10 or so over the years, 5 to 10 adult females that, thinking, oh man, this is a great animal, came from a reputable person, and the snake maybe was okay when I got it, but those snakes never have gone on to do anything good for me. I've got a 0% success rate with buying adult animals, females in particular, and having them go on to reproduce. It's just 0%. Never had it work out.
What do you guys think?
And I don't necessarily blame that on the seller. I think it's more of, more on the snake, just changing their environment, moving them to a different, all the things we've talked about 100 times. But there's, for every one of me, there's one or, there's at least one person that's had luck, with adults.
Yeah.
But I'll also say that, people tend to be more honest and forthright with their successes than with their failures. So, if are you really getting the real story with somebody who's saying, oh yeah, I've done it with every, I've bought 5 females, adults, and they've all gone on to breed for me. To me, that would be a little suspect, just because my experience has been the complete opposite.
Yeah, like you said, Marshall, we beat this horse to death. It's a risk versus reward with imports, with buying mature females. Certainly it can be done. It can be done successfully. But I think you're just, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball a little bit.
Yeah.
When you try it.
Yeah. But, also going back to what Marshall said, we are in a time right now where motherfuckers got some financial strains. And they know, you know, a snake that they paid X amount for, as it gets older, it gets closer, it's going to be worth that, you know, it's going to be worth a lot more, I feel like, you know, in a sense. And it is unfortunate because I do see people giving up some snakes for sale before they even get to breeding. And it's like, why would you do that? You're getting that close. Like,
You're so close, right?
Yeah,
You're just a year away.
Like, why? But then again, like, I'm not in their shoes. You know what I mean? And so I do got to remind myself that there's people out there who are financially, you know, struggling in a sense, you know, and also too, there's people who just seem to just jump into this, you know, a little, like, meaning they could afford this snake at a time, and now they get to a point in life where that fucking snake that they dropped that money on, maybe they didn't even, you know, maybe they didn't just really think it out, you know. So I don't know. Like I said, I really glad my mentality of the Chondro game is like, whatever I have, it's mine, and I'm gonna breed it, and that's that, you know. But you know, I don't know, to each their own.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, yeah, to what Marshall said, it's not necessarily a bad thing if someone posts up. I will say, even if it's a female that hasn't bred, I think that's better than a female that has bred, right? Like, you're better off inquiring a female that is proven female but hasn't bred yet and is around maybe, you know, not that fresh adult stage. I guess that's a good thing. But anything proven, I'm staying the fuck away from for sure.
Yeah, I think you're talking about, you know, potentially different scenarios. It sounds like Mike's scenario was he was getting imported adult females. Is that right, Mike? You weren't buying like captive bred, proven breeder females?
No. Yeah, they were imports. They weren't adults. They're maybe sub-adults, maybe 2-3 years old. Those were the ones that were hot. And they, I mean, like 2 weeks they lasted. Couldn't even ship them back or get them to a vet to euthanize or anything like that. They went south, you know, that quick.
They rolled that fast. Yeah.
Yeah. They just weren't healthy when they got here.
Yeah.
That was more the problem. Obviously with Nido too.
You know, I know, for example, Alex Warren has brought in a number of sub-adult females, almost exclusively from Dan. And, you know, Dan is very good at sexing the animals. He Nido tests them before he ships them out. Yeah. And Alex has had great success, you know, with those animals. So you know, again, I think, you know, you have to know your source, but even knowing your source coming from a clean, a good, a quality source, you're still, you know, you're taking a gamble.
Yeah. And that's regardless who it's from. If it's an adult, it's a gamble. You're gambling. You know what I mean? Nido clean or not. And what's crazy is this, I don't know, like, are you pretty big on testing your own stuff today, Mike? Like, you frequently test your stuff like throughout the year, or are you not that, you know, extreme over it?
I was more extreme early on. I tested everything. So it's like you get a new one in, then you test a whole bunch of them to kind of make it worth it to ship some tests out.
Yeah.
But now I'll test them when they come in and a couple times in quarantine. But I haven't really brought in too much that wasn't, well, I mean, I had my clutch and then the clutch with Kino, so I got a couple Neos there. So that's really all I brought in the last couple of years. I grabbed one off Sony and Ken too, but
nice.
You know, haven't really. Once I got the Neos last year, you know, it's just too much work to bring more animals in. You know, expanding that fast, you know, with 18 babies overnight, you know, doubled the collection. And then some, you know, in 24 hours, you know, it turned the work into a heck of a lot more, especially with the 3 hours, 4 hours in front of a rack.
I love it.
Which is nice. I'm a night person, so I put your podcast on a few times and just sit there and feed, but, you know, still got another 2 hours to go sometimes after that. And so just to bring more animals in after that, it was just too hard.
Did you get something nice from Sony and Ken?
I think it's to be determined. It looks like it's going kind of like a mustardy with some a couple black scales popping in, but it's taking its sweet time doing anything. So we'll see where it goes. I bought it, so luckily. So the high yellow animal I got from Travis that he keeps complaining about selling, I always thought that one was a female, and I didn't really have anything to pair it to it if it was a female, because pretty much all my stuff is more poultry based. Nothing with like high yellow or Biak in it, besides what I got from him. And then Ken posted up his animals for sale, and I'm like, well, that'd be perfect. I'm like, I don't care if it's a male, it's going to that female. Well, at least what I hoped was a female, and then we confirmed it yesterday. But so fingers crossed there. But
Wait, so it is a female or it's not?
the one from Trav is a female. Yeah,
Nice.
so the high yellow tricolor, whatever you want to call that, the Biak by Sauron, the one that got away from Trav. That was the last one too.
Mike, you didn't say if you were overall happy with your outcome with what Patrick helped you sex when he was there. Were you happy with the outcome or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I finished with 14 and 14. 14 males, 14 females.
Wow.
What the? That's epic.
Yeah. Yeah. I was starting to think that I was going to be male heavy right before we probed it. And I'm like, man, I got a bad feeling about this. And then he just started going through and he's like, this is a male. And then it came back female. And I'm like, sweet. I'm happy now.
I'm hurting for males, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Like good males. Like I only have like less than a handful of really good potent males.
You got a ton of females. How many females do you have?
I have a lot. In the 20s.
It's a good problem to have.
I'm okay with it. Yeah, like I said, and it's I can plug and play wherever I want. I'm hoping some of the holdbacks I had from my clutches are males, or maybe not even. I rather have my pure locality stuff be females.
Right.
But I'll have Bill's baby Jaeger. He'll be ready next year. I mean, he's already. I kind of threw him in there now, and he started like courting a little bit, but he's just so small. So I'm like, I'm just not gonna push it. I'm gonna give him one more good year of eating. I want baby Jaeger's blood is super important to me. Like I want this guy to be a fucking goddamn like star quarterback for my breeding plans because how much I want Jaeger blood and everything. So, but yeah, it's be all right. Like I said, like it's a good problem to have. I'm not worried about having a lot less males than females when I have that many females, and I still have about 9 males. But like I said, at least less than 5 of those are like the home run hitting kind of males. You know what I mean? And so overall, Mike, like let's kind of talk about like where you want to take things production wise. Like like in a perfect world, in the next 5 to 6 years, like how many females do you want to pair up? Like how many clutches do you feel like would be a happy medium for you if you could get the success off of them?
Currently, we're still working full time. My kids are young, so my youngest is 9, my oldest is 12, the one that you just saw.
Right.
So we're doing travel sports. So right now, 1 to 2 clutches a year is probably way more than what I need to do. Down the line, as they kind of go to college and get older, I always said, like, I know you don't really make a ton of money in doing this. I'd like to pay for itself and then hopefully kind of step back a little bit at work and not work as much and just have that little bit of extra from a couple clutches or whatever to kind of help supplement a little bit, kind of pay some of the odds and ends off down the road. But so maybe like 2 or 3 at the most in a year. There's so much work. Maybe I'll get spoiled down the road and some will be easy to establish and they'll all eat on the first try and never skip a meal.
Yeah.
After that first one,
you'll get clutches like that. Trust me. And we talk on the show so much about the difficult eaters and the frustration and all that. But really, when you step back, once you're an established and kind of know what you're doing, feeding these animals, it's really only 20% of the babies that cause 90% of the problems. The other 80%, go along and they rock along pretty smoothly. But it's hard when you have like one clutch and 80% of them are troublesome to kind of project that out into the future. But the bottom line is that once you're comfortable with them and once you have a pretty sizable number of animals that you're establishing, 80% of them are going to be pretty, after the first few feedings are going to be pretty problem free.
Yeah, and that's kind of how this one was. Once I started to figure out what they actually liked and what worked, then it was pretty easy, except for the handful that gave you the run for the money.
Yep.
And you spend all your time there.
I think it's better to have at least those handful to kind of like, keep you on your toes versus like, oh fuck, I got all this shit done in one go. And then like, kind of like Bill's experience, his clutch was a breeze. The first one, the second one really fucking threw him upside down, So I think you're going to get fed to the wolves at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's better to happen like gradually versus like not at all. And then all at once, or just all at once.
Yeah. Mike, I went a decade with having 1 or 2 clutches a year. It was great. It's perfect. I was working full time. I had I had a family, and all that. And 1 or 2 clutches a year, was perfect. Now, sometimes that 1 clutch a year would be, the biggest pain in my ass. And then other years, the 1 clutch or 2 clutches would establish relatively smoothly. So I think you're right on point, where you are in your life. You can't dedicate all of your time and energy to these. You got so much other stuff going on. So, just be content with a clutch.
Yeah.
And, learn from that clutch, and you'll always have that knowledge to look back on in the future. If you decide to ramp it up, you'll be able to do that at any time.
Yeah. I think that's the nice part too. I kind of grew pretty fast, especially with having, the joint pairing with Keno and then my clutch in back-to-back years.
Yeah.
And then hopefully another one here shortly. But, having that base to start for the next, however many years, it should have, a good 2 to 3 or 4 females that are able to be paired each year. So, not to rush anything or whatever, but just having the options to pick and choose, going forward, that'll be
Well,
nice.
that'll get you your 1 to 3 that you're wanting,
Yeah. I mean, was it 50% probably go or work out for the year? So, pair 2 or 3 and maybe get 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Yeah. What's crazy is like as low as 1 and 2 sounds. It's really not. Like 1 and 2 is like that's game time right there. Like, you know what I mean? Because for the most part, you're not getting 1 or 2 babies. You're going to be getting at least 10 to fucking some odd babies. You're going to have 20 goddamn babies to establish off 2 clutches. So, and it's something like I said, when you're doing this for so long, you take what you can get and you're happy with it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Marshall knows that for sure. Marshall's fucking easy breezy over there, huh, buddy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to know what the stress feels like to Marshall because he doesn't show it. Like even in person, like when we were going to Georgia, the show, like I see these eggs and they look so fucking ready, and I'm just nervous, and he's just like, "Well, I'll fucking see you in 3 days," and I'm just like, I guess that just comes with the experience, huh, Marshall? Yeah. At the end of the day, what can you do, right?
Yeah. I mean, what am I going to do? Sit there looking at them? Is that going to help? Is that going to help hatch a few more?
Yeah.
No.
No, it's not.
The best thing you can do is walk away, forget about them, and just let them do their thing and come back.
So true. That's the truth. Cause it's kind of like watching fucking water, like waiting for it to boil. What's that saying where you're just like turn on a pot of water, you're just sitting there. It's kind of like go leave and come back for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But listen, let's get to the wrap up questions of the episode. I'll go first. I don't know, man. You seem very red heavy in your collection. What I mean by that, are you a red neonate lover or are you a yellow neonate lover? And what are your overall feelings of both? And are you directed towards one versus the other? Or let's hear it from you.
I mean, I probably would gravitate towards reds more than yellows. I mean, yellows are nice too. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying to steal a yellow from my uncle right now. He won't let it go.
Nice.
One of the Dr. Jones Mako babies. That was a yellow neo. It's got a real nice.
Is that from James Opto, Dr. Jones? I can't remember.
No, from Brahms, David Brahms.
Oh, that's right. Shout out to David Brahms, man. I should have known that. My bad, Dave.
But it's just a nice bright green with a bright blue dorsal, and it just looks nice, and I want it.
You're cool with making yellow neonates if you have to?
Yeah, that's fine. I was actually, for my clutch, I was kind of hoping that I would have a couple of yellows. The dam to my sire, did I say that right? She had a super thick, she was a yellow sorong. She had a super thick dorsal. And some of the babies from Patrick's clutch, they all had that nice, thick, bright, bold dorsal. So I was kind of hoping that I'd get a couple yellows that just have a super thick dorsal on it. Didn't work out. They're all red. I'm not mad about it. Don't get me wrong, but that would have been cool. So no, I don't discriminate. That's part of my problem with. I like them all, really.
Yeah.
Then you're like, I like that one. I'm gonna grab that. It's like, now I got 28 of them. Now I kind of like Beox. So like the Beox outcrosses. After I got that one from Trav that went kind of high yellow, tricolor, whatever you want to call it. Now I kind of like the Beox outcrosses. So yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd pick red.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right, Marshall or Bill, who wants to go next?
I was going to ask you, Mike. Mike, have you sold any of the animals that you produced?
Yeah, so I sold. Actually, I rushed back home today. I just dropped one off at FedEx. I sold 5 and traded 1 to Lupe.
Nice, excellent. Yeah. I love the power of the trade.
Yeah,
the trade is awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback off that because I had a couple questions I jotted down. That was one of them. How was selling? I mean, how was dealing with customers? How was did you have to advertise much? Was it just through your Instagram?
Yeah. I'm pretty lazy. With that,
you're not lazy. You're busy.
Busy, yeah. So yeah, I post on Instagram. I put on the stories. I'd post a couple times. Eventually, I put them on MORPH Market. Fortunately, I didn't have too many tire kickers. I don't know if it was just the market and people not reaching out.
Wait. These are all reds, right?
Yeah.
No tire kickers with reds, buddy. Just letting you know. They purchase on the reds. I'm telling you. They don't miss. Yellows?
I had a few.
No, Garrick will back me up. Yellows, you're getting fucking tire kicked all day, buddy. I'm telling you. Listen, don't shoot the messenger. The analytics are out there. I'm just letting you know.
And I have no comment.
Yeah.
for the record.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. Most people that reached out, I sold a couple to a few first-time chondro keepers, which is pretty cool. So shout out to Luke and Mike. I hope they're watching and listening.
That's what it's all about, right there, man. When you get somebody new, because we were all there, right? And it's like when you're able to like kind of put that fire of what you have going on into someone else's collection, which it's like I feel like no better feeling. You know what I mean? There's tons of Marshall Mendez productions out there, tons of Bill Stiegel stuff. So it's always been a huge goal of mine, Mike, to have that someday, all that shit out there. And I mean, I send stuff to Bill all the time, like, dude, you sold this, and he's like, yep, I know.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's probably the worst part about selling them is that just the fear of missing out on what could have been if it turns out to be awesome. I mean, I hope it does. I don't want anybody to be upset or disappointed. So I hope everybody gets something awesome. I know that's probably not the reality, but I just don't want to sell that one from like the first clutch. So I only let a few go, and then we'll see what happens. But
have they all established well for the new owners? Or are you that far yet, or you just literally sent them out? Or
let's see, I sent 4. Shipped 4 out. They established pretty quick. I think 1 took about a week, so not too bad. The rest were within a few days. They went back to Eaton and didn't really miss a beat. Most were pretty big.
Yeah,
I sold some of the biggest ones.
I'm gonna guess, Mike, you didn't let this one go, right?
No, that's the one I traded and I got from Lupe.
Dude, this thing is nice here. And did he sex this thing, or are we guessing here?
So that's Pat sexed it, came back female.
I knew it. Look at okay, listen, my point exactly. See how you can see an ass on this snake's head right here? It's visible. Yeah. You see the butt cheeks. Like that right there, I feel, again, I could be wrong with mine, but I feel like when you see the ass cheeks on the head like that, and it's a big snake, probably a female. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but also you could also say look at the spine on that snake. It's got a pretty triangular shaped body. I mean, and that's a sign. That's a sign of males. A lot of people say or think.
That's a thick snake, though. I don't know.
Yeah,
You're right.
it's
You're
not
right.
small.
It
You
does have.
guys, you guys just keep playing your guessing games. I'm telling you, it's not going to work out for you.
I'm right. Hey, I am right 50% of the time.
But there's no
Yeah.
guessing in this one. This one is an actual female. So I mean,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, like you said, at the end of the day, anecdotal, as Bill Steele will always say, for sure.
Yeah. But no, that one does got a big fat back of the head.
Oh yeah, booty heads, man. Dude,
Not
awesome.
small.
Awesome episode, Mike. I appreciate you coming in the clutch, bro. I really do. It was cool to get to know you better and kind of tap into what you have going on. And I got to say, like, based off what you said, what you have ratio wise, you're in a good place right now, man. So really excited to see what the next few years bring you, bro.
Yeah, me too. Appreciate it.
Best place for people to follow you would be Instagram, M&M Chondros on Instagram.
Yeah, that'll be the easiest place.
Okay.
I don't go on Facebook much. I'll read the post, but I'm not commenting.
Yeah. I don't blame you, buddy. I don't blame you, man. But
They
yeah,
don't listen.
I appreciate your time, Mike. Guys, you can find the link to Mike's Instagram description below. Make sure you go give him a follow and tap into all his work. And can't wait to have you back on the episode here someday, Mike. Give it up. It's a wrap for M&M Chondros, ladies and gentlemen.
Well done, Mike. Well done.
Thanks,
fellas.
Mike. Thanks for coming
Appreciate it.
on, man.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night, Mike. We'll talk
You
soon.
too.
Okay?
See ya.
All right. See ya.
Peace. Good episode. Awesome. What do you guys think?
Thought it was great. Yeah.
Mike's a good guy. Mike reminds me of myself 10 years ago. You know, it's just, he's just experienced a lot of new things. He's trying to stay in the moment, but look into the future, you know, with super busy lifestyle that he has right now. But there's like plan for, you know, the next 3, 5 years. I mean, it's fun, you know, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Bill, I was going to ask you, how many years were you working breeding chondros before you, you threw in the towel as far as your work goes?
A decade, 10, 12 years probably, you know,
Wow.
but again, kind of on a really small scale, kind of like what he's doing now, you know, the one clutch a year, 2 clutches a year. But at the time, I was doing a lot of ball pythons back then too. So, you know, I think that's really a good way to just take it easy, you know, just go slow. That 1 clutch a year is great for 5 years. You know, really, you learn something new from each clutch. You don't burn yourself out. You know, you can just learn a lot as opposed to being like thrown in the fire of something, you know. I just think it's really, I think it's a smart way to go. I think it's the consistent way to go. I think if you're going to be in it for the long haul, you know, just ramp it up slow, especially if you have a busy lifestyle like all of you guys do. Not me so much anymore, but you know, the people that have full-time families, full-time jobs, you know, just don't let this thing beat you up and burn you out.
Don't let it consume. Don't let it consume you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and also, like he said on the show, guys, all it takes is 1 clutch, and you have a lot more fucking snakes than you did the day before. You know what I mean? Like
you can double your chondro collection like that.
Yes.
Yeah, they multiply very quickly. But let's hear from Marshall. What do you think of tonight's episode, Marshall?
No, yeah, man. Same thoughts as Bill. You can tell he's got a plan. He's got his got his shit together, thinking ahead. You know, has taken things slow, doing it the right way. You know, I got give him mad props.
Yeah, you know, he's learned his lessons, right? We all have to learn our lessons. Sometimes we learn them through other people, and sometimes we just have to experience it for ourselves. And you know, it sounds like, you know, his experience bringing in adult animals just hasn't worked well for him. So he's pivoted. He's learned his lesson, you know, and so I think, you know, I think that's really, it's valuable. You know, it's just valuable history.
Yep. And I've said this multiple times. Like, I come from a past where, like, I always looked for the shortcuts, and this is just one game where you learn very quick what happened to shortcuts. Like, it just doesn't work out. It doesn't plan out, especially if it's something that worked for you in the beginning, longevity wise. With the chondros, almost anything breeding reptiles, shortcuts just isn't it. I'll tell you that right now. So glad he spoke on that, and I had a good time. with you guys as always. Thanks for being back here, Marshall. You were missed last week.
Yeah, man. Good to be back.
You miss a lot of Tuesdays, buddy, but don't do that ever again, okay?
Don't never again.
But seriously, thank you guys. Bill, thank you as always, guys. Red Mountain Herbs on IG. Look at my man a follow, and of course the mayor of Phoenix Reptiles. But it's a wrap. Give it up for Marshall Bill, ladies and gentlemen.
See you next week, boys.
See you next week.
We got a good one next week, by the way. So be ready.
All right.
All right,
Don't tell me.
You're not gonna know. Definitely not. Good night, Bill. All right, appreciate everyone who tapped in. Before you guys go, if you're not subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button for your boy MJ. It really means a lot. And if you smash that notification bell, select all, you will be notified on every podcast that's released out of the Trap Talk Reptile Network 7 days a week. The only reptile network that is giving you fresh reptile podcast episodes every day of the week, Monday through Sunday. Okay, and again, just to reiterate how much I'm thankful for anyone who listens to any of these episodes. Appreciate the love and support. Okay, before I let you guys go, you know the deal. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but a quick word from our sponsors. Diversity when it comes to a reptile diet, I feel like is so important. So this is why I'm proud to announce today's sponsor, Blake Exotic Feeders over in Florida.
What is up, everybody? Blake here, the owner of Blake's Exotic Feeders. We have all quail available at all times, produced here at my ranch from button day old, from Coturnic day old, all the way to extra large Coturnic quail. If you guys have any questions, DM on Instagram. Appreciate the support, you guys. Make sure you guys hit me up. We have all the quail, like I mentioned, and everything is shipped right here from my house.
If you want the #1 quail sent to your doorstep and more importantly fed to your reptile, no better company than to go to than Blake Exotic Feeders. #1 quality in quail, hands down, and I gotta tell you, my reptiles love it just as much. It'll give you a peace of mind to know that these quail are grown on his property and it's not bought third party. Head over to his website, Blake Exotic Animal Ranch, to place your order, or you could just hit him up directly on Instagram. Let him know that the Trap sent you and he'll take extra good care of you. Thank you so much, Blake, for supporting the Trap, and also thank you so much for sending me top quality homegrown quail for my animals. One of the things I love about being a part of the reptile industry is all the learning, okay? Learning can be fun, and I can prove that to you. Thank you so much to today's sponsor, it's Gary Scavino over at GS Reptiles. I highly recommend you head over to his YouTube channel, follow all this man's content when it comes to learning about rare species of snakes you could be keeping in the hobby, and also just finding out how easy a lot of these rare species of snakes are to keep in general. So thank you so much, Gary Scavino of GS Reptiles. Again, head over to his YouTube channel. Also head over to his Instagram to be on top of all of his current work and be ready for a big year over at GS Reptiles. Thank you so much, Gary, for your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. Cheers. For the #1 PVC enclosures in the reptile game, no better place to visit than Focus Cube Habitats. Excited for today's sponsor, Focus Cube Habitats, #1 enclosures in the reptile game by far. Everything you see behind me are 3x2x2 PVC design enclosures by Steven and Ashley over at Focus Cube Habitats. They're based out of Texas. If you head over to their website, you can select from over 30 plus different enclosure designs that they've done. Two of the hardest working people in the reptile hobby today, and I'm so excited to add more Focus Cube enclosures. So much again, Steven and Ashley, I appreciate the 5+ years of partnerships that we've had together. Looking forward to growing more. Head over to focuscubehabitats.com, head over to their YouTube channel, subscribe, and check them out on Instagram. Thank you so much, Focus Cube Habitat. When you think about building a good community and being a leader of that community, nobody comes to mind better than Mark Hager over at Texas Chondros. That's right. Make sure you head over to TX Chondros on Instagram and also head over to Mark's website, see what he has available green tree python wise, and be ready for quite the 2025 green tree python breeding season out of Mark Hager. He's a veteran in the green tree python game, one of the best and nicest breeders in the green tree python game. He's been putting on the whole state of Texas for as long as I've known him. So if you want to see all the amazing other chondro keepers out of the state of Texas, another good reason to go follow Mark Hager over at TX Chondros on Instagram. And again, head over to his website, texaschondros.com. You can find all the links in the description below. Thank you so much, Mark Hager, for supporting the Trap. Cheers.